Welcome to Subramani. Problems of rich people, or that's what I should be calling it. A friend of mine wanted to buy a car, and he's not a big spender, and he's about 60 years of age. And he would have been he could afford any car, and he would have been very happy with a Zen or an entry level car. Could be an Indica equivalent, whatever is available now. And he couldn't make up his mind, so we met, 4-5 friends met, and so what were the choices which were available to him? So so let me start. He's rich, very rich, by rich standards he's very rich. So which car? Well, if I had said, if I had suggested a 5 crore rupee car, he wouldn't have batted an eyelid. He could afford to sign a check and buy it, no EMI, no nothing. Has adequate income to be able to buy any car. Now these were 3-4 people who were sitting, so each person was discussing which car. I mean, which car to buy, everybody can give an input, right? Nothing stops you from giving advice, because he wanted to buy a simple car, so the maximum he was willing to stretch was about 20 lakhs, but he's a guy who enjoys his driving, who enjoys his car. So sorry, obviously the discussion went to BMW and Mercedes and all that, and but he was not even looking at those cars till one guy hit a nail and said, come on, be patriotic, give back something to the Tatas. You've made enough money in Tata Motors, etc., so it's time to give back. So he chose a Jaguar, which was costing him about 1 crore. I don't know, I'm not sure, with taxes, without taxes. And here is a guy who would have been happy with a small entry level, maybe a 10 lakh rupee car, not really an entry level car, a slightly just above entry level car. And somebody pulls him and says, buy a 1 crore rupee Jaguar, and he actually has decided to buy it. Maybe he would have already bought it. Now, it doesn't mean that the others are driving such fancy cars in that group. I don't drive a car, right? So the other guy was saying how to get, they all wanted only simple answers, how to get the best value for money. No, they're not talking of what kind of returns they wanted, the question of how to use the money. So I said, look, when you're younger, maybe when you're 45, 50, what you enjoy is not something which you would enjoy at 60. At 60, maybe now with the Jaguar, he'll get a better driver, or he'll get a driver who will drive him around, and he may not drive much, but he may drive during the weekends, and because he really loves his cars. The others were talking about saying, look, I wouldn't put so much in a car, I would rather buy a house. But it didn't really matter. So we laughed at him saying, why would you buy a house? So he said, oh, I don't want my son to live with me, so I will buy him a house. So I said, look, you contribute for him to buy a house, let him buy a house. Maybe he buys a 3 crore house and you put 1 crore and you give him, rather than buying a house and saying, this is the house that I bought for you. Why would you do that, right? So the third person said, I would rather go on a vacation anywhere to maybe one of the forests and live there for 10 days and not really splurge on a car. All these persons had enough money to buy a car, buy a house, and go on a vacation. The question is, what gives them more pleasure? So if you look back, what gave you more pleasure? Did buying a car give you pleasure, buying an office give you pleasure, or buying a house? What gave you pleasure? Or taking a vacation where you took a lot of pictures and you have it, and you can still look at those pictures and smile, how your newborn baby was reacting to the waters for the first time. You went to the sea, right? Maybe the kid was 1 year old or 2 years old, but you held your kid's hand and you walked into the sea. Maybe those pictures your husband took or your wife took, and you have all those pictures. So what gives you pleasure, and pleasure for a long period of time? So I believe that if we are now in a particular month, and say 6 months later I want to plan a vacation, it makes sense for me to plan it right away and say, okay, I want to go to this place, which could be any place that you can, let's say Simla, Jibi, or any of those places, and say, this is what I'll go with these people. Then I set up, then I book tickets, and I keep talking about it. Then I say, oh, which camera are you taking, which lenses do we take, do we hire lenses, right? To talk about all that the whole preparation for the vacation, the whole process of booking the tickets and talking to the place where you want to stay. You want to stay one night in a 5-star hotel, one night in a homestay, one night in the train, or any of those combinations which work for you. And you go with your friends, relatives, kids, your spouse, whatever, with whomever you go. Chances are the ROI on that trip would be higher than for me, rather than buying a car or a house. To me, it didn't matter whether I bought which car, whether what car I drove, whether I buy another house for my daughter or things like that. Those things won't give me a pleasure the way it would give me pleasure if I plan a trip with my friends, and then we have pictures of that and we talk about it, and we can talk about it for a pretty long period of time. How much does a vacation cost? 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, depending on what combination of stay that you use, the travel that you use. We use good quality vehicles, so it could be a Fortuner if we can get, or at least the best car normally available, especially in Northeast and even in Jammu Kashmir and all, is a very safe car called Innova. Unfortunately, a Fortuner may not be available, or a Ford Endeavour may not be available, but those cars would be better than an Innova. But right, so making those choices, I'm not even getting into right wrong, how much you should spend on a vacation, but the question is, for somebody buying a car gives great pleasure, for somebody buying a house gives great pleasure, for somebody investing gives great pleasure, for somebody going on a vacation gives great pleasure. So to pull the last happiness out of your money, I'm not talking of ROI here in terms of what return you will get. Maybe that you will get better in a direct equity stock than you will get even in an equity fund, and you don't have any ability to pick an equity stock. I have lost all my ability to pick up equity stocks. So I talk to people who know, and then I buy a stock. It's not that I've stopped buying equity, but whatever gives you pleasure, when you do that, it gives you a great amount of value for money. So when I get parents talking to me and saying, oh, my daughter is not saving enough, I find it very difficult to tell them that your daughter need not save, need not invest. There is adequate money that the old man and his wife are going to give them, right? But it's important for them to accumulate experiences which they are going to remember. So taking a vacation to Africa, to America, to Goa, to Jagannath Puri, anything, whether you're traveling within India, whether you're going to the beaches, you're going to the temples, you're going to the forests, any of those things which will give you pleasure is what you should do, because somehow I feel capturing those things, you talk about it much longer than you talk about your new car. Car will get dented, car will get depreciated. It's very nice to claim the depreciation, GST credit, whatever you want to claim. But after some time, there is no great, of course, it takes you from point A to point B. So you can choose to have a cheaper car and spend more on vacation, or you can buy an expensive car and say, look, I'm 70 years of age, I'm not now going any mountaineering or snorkeling or any of those things. So let me just go and simply buy an expensive car. So any of those, whatever gives you pleasure in what you are doing is what you should do, because that is the way to get the best value on your best return on your investments, right? Happiness has to be the best return. So what you do depends on what you enjoy doing, what your spouse enjoys doing, what your children enjoy doing. So do that. Don't compromise one for the other. But it is also important that as your age increases and you don't want to drive, get a good safe car, get a driver, sit in the back seat, wear your seat belt and enjoy your life, because even a small hurt after the age of 75 takes a long time to recover. So depending on your age, you decide what you want to do, but yeah, safety first. Thank you.